Well, Mrs. Doull, thank you very much for coming to tell us about life in Wicks in your childhood. Now, you said a minute ago that you were born on the Wicks side of the river.
No, I was born in Thromster.
Oh, you were born in Thromster?
Yeah.
Oh, you were not born in Wick at all then.
No.
So, when was that now? Was that would be
1917.
1917. So, you went to school in Thromster too, did you?
Yes, and then we went to Auchenville when I was 11.
Oh.
And then I was a year in Auchenville school, and then I came to high school.
Oh, and here in Wick?
In Wick, yes.
And what did you do when you left the high school in Wick then?
I was at Skerris College for a year, and then I got a job in what is now the Library Annex.
Uh-huh.
It belonged to a Mr. Bruce, who was a solicitor and a retired town clerk of Wick.
Uh-huh.
And he was doing this sort of to keep him employed in his retirement.
Uh-huh.
So I worked for him until he died, and that was 2.5 years.
Yeah.
And then I went to work in Golspie.
Mm-hmm.
And then I came back to work in Georgians in Wick, T.W. Georgians.
Oh yes, I remember Georgians'
Yes,
shop.
yes.
Yes,
They were
on
the
Bridge
best
Street.
employers I ever had.
Really?
And I
Uh-huh.
worked till I was 62.
All right.
Uh-huh.
Now, when did you come back to Wick? What year would that have been?
In about 34 probably.
34. And were you here in Wick when the war was on?
No, I was back in Golspie then until 1942.
Uh-huh.
Mm-hmm. So I wasn't in Wick when the war was started, you know.
Yeah.
But I can tell you about Wick when I first saw it.
Yes, please
You
do.
see, I didn't see much of Wick when I was in Thromster because, well, you just got to Wick once in a while.
Of course.
And I thought it was a very busy place.
Yes.
You see, the herring fishing was at its peak then,
Uh-huh,
I would say.
yes.
And there was horses and carts, you know, going around the harbour. And the harbour was full of boats. And what tickled me most was the coalmen putting coal aboard the drifters. They would have a long plank, and they'd have a bag of coal on their back, and they would run along this, you know, in a sort of rhythm. And
Yeah.
I was always scared they were going to fall into the harbour.
Yes.
But they never did. They were sure-footed.
Yes, absolutely, yes.
Yes.
So, when you came into Wick for Thromster, did you use a bus? Was it a...
Yes, so sometimes we walked. It was just
Uh-huh.
4 miles. You thought nothing of
Oh, yes, of
walking
course,
in those
yes.
days. And my great-grandmother walked to Bridge Street Church every Sunday
All
because there
right.
was no church in Thromster then.
No.
And that was the nearest church, really.
Yes,
Uh-huh.
yes. My memory escapes me of when the railway line shut to Leicester.
Yes.
Was that still going then?
It was still going then, yes. I've had a run on that train.
Uh-huh.
Uh-huh.
Was it 1939
It
when
was
it
before
stopped?
that, wasn't
Before
it?
that, was it?
I think so. I just haven't got the dates.
Uh-huh. Uh-huh.
So,
All right. Okay.
Uh-huh.
Yes, and then you lived in Auchenville, of course, which
Uh-huh.
is farther away.
Farther
because-
away, yes.
I mean, I was brought up in Keith, of course.
Uh-huh.
And as you say, we only got to Wick now and again because
Now and
people
again.
didn't have cars. And
No, you only had a day. They would go on Thursday usually to Wick.
that was the market day.
Market day,
Yes,
that was the
aye.
day they went.
Aye.
And they got their groceries. They would take their eggs to the town, you see.
Yes.
And then they would get their groceries and get home.
Uh-huh.
But then there were more buses then.
Yes.
And when we went to Auchenville, there was Daniel Mowat. He was driving the mail bus. He'd been doing it for 50 years, I think.
I remember his son. Was it his son,
Yes,
Willie Moore,
Willie
took it
Moore.
over
Yes,
after
he
that?
took over
Ah,
after
yes,
it.
yes. I remember Willie
But
Moore.
Daniel was on, and I always remember it was when we got radios.
Yes.
And you needed a dry battery and a wet one, the accumulator they called it.
Yes.
So Daniel would take them into Irish Waters to be charged up.
Yes.
And he would have about a dozen on this beside
Yeah.
him, you know, in the
Yeah.
seat. And then as he went home, everybody would be coming meeting him, getting their
I
accumulator
know, it
back.
was great. Yes, 'cause we had a radio like that at one time, wireless, you know.
Yes, wireless.
Yes,
Uh-huh.
yes. And you wasn't allowed to listen too often because you had to make the battery last as long as possible.
Because they wanted it for the news and for the service on Sunday.
Yes,
And then they saw the fall off in church attendance then, because they would sit at home and listen to what was on the radio.
oh, I see.
There was always a service on a
Yes.
Sunday morning,
Yes.
and they would stay at home instead of, especially if it was a wet day, they would sit at home and listen to it instead
Yes.
of going to the church.
Yes.
And that's when they first started a sort of decline in church membership.
All right.
Mhm.
That's interesting.
Mhm.
Now, what did your family do in Thrumpster? What?
We had a croft
Oh, yes.
down by the shore.
Uh-huh.
And there were 3 crofts in this little bit, and oh, they were lovely because they were all worked, you know, very minutely, and there was no dockings or thistles or anything like that. And then after we left, nobody took our croft. Then the people on the other side, they went to a bigger place, and it was an old lady that was left in the middle. And when I went back and saw it after 2 years, somebody had taken the crofts and put a fence around them and put animals in to graze. And oh, I thought the place, I cried really, because the place looked so dilapidated besides what it was. It was more like gardens, you see. And there was nettles here this high and dockings and whatnot, and I thought it was terrible because it used to be so lovely.
And you had a coo?
We had 2 cows and 2 horses and 2 animals to feed up, you know.
Oh yes, to fatten.
Yes,
Stirks
and there was always a pig.
Oh yes.
When it hurt me the day that pig was killed.
Oh,
my
yes.
goodness, I went as far away as I could from the house.
Yes, my grandparents used to kill their own pig and done it too.
It was terrible. A man used to come and do it. And
Yes.
I used to go as far away from the house as I could. Because, I mean, all the animals were pets, if you know what I mean.
suppose
We knew them all personally, and they all had names.
Yes,
Mhm.
yes. But you enjoyed eating the sausages afterwards?
No, I didn't. I
Oh,
never
no?
ate it. No, I never ate it.
Oh dear. Did you have sheep as well?
Yes, about 6.
Aye, because you wouldn't have how many acres did you have?
22, I think.
Well, 22, that's
Roughly.
not bad. And
No,
presumably...
There was hill outrun as well.
Oh yes, aye.
Mhm.
And presumably you grew oats?
Oh yes, we grew oats, but that was the problem with the sea air and the sunlight. It blasted the corn before it was full.
Aye, aye. Yes. And you'd have tatties and...
And tatties, oh yes, because I always say that in the country we were all self-supporting, because you got a half barrel of herring about the September, October, and then you had your pit of potatoes, and you had your corn in the stackyard, and you threshed it as you needed, and a hand mill,
Yes.
a handle on each side. And then you had your corn for their hens and whatnot, and your potatoes in the pit and all this, and you were more or less self-supporting, because it wouldn't have bothered us. I remember when the big snowstorm was, that was in '62. Well, everybody in a day or 2 days was short of everything. Yes, another thing, we had a kist of meal, a gurnal of meal, and then you had a bowl of flour meal. And you did your own baking, more or less.
And you
were
could
self-supporting.
make your porridge. Did you?
Porridge, yes.
Did you make your own oatmeal, or did you buy that in?
Yes, when you took your corn when it was threshed, and you took it down to the meal mill, and then you got your corn back. They kept so much.
Yes.
And then you got your meal back, and then that filled the garner, and that was you fine for the winter.
And was that mill at Thrumpster?
Well, I think there was a mill at Thrumpster, but I don't think it was used. I think they went to Wick. It was Wick, and sometimes to Ulster.
Oh yes.
Ulster was that mill now is a house.
Uh-huh.
and there's a pond.
Oh yes,
beside
pond
it.
is still there,
Yeah,
right?
that's
Just
right.
above the steps yonder. Yes.
At top of the steps
Aye.
a while ago.
Oh, right.
Uh-huh.
So, and then when you went to Auchengull, but then you went to high school in Wick
Yes.
when you were 12. That must have been a big adventure for you, was it? Was that a big day?
Yes, I didn't look forward to it much.
Uh-huh.
And there was more homework and a lot of things, you see.
Well.
But it was all right. I quite enjoyed it, yes.
Did you travel in every day?
In the bus, yes.
From Auchengull?
From
was it?
Auchengull, yes.
Yes. Oh,
Uh-huh.
yes. Uh-huh. Uh-huh. And can you remember any of your teachers in the high school at that time?
Well, there was Murdo Mackenzie, he took maths.
Uh-huh.
And Miller, I can't remember his first name, he did English. And Miss, who was the one from, she came from about Bower. Can't remember her name now.
Uh-huh. Right. Miller, you said?
Miller.
Was that his nickname?
Well, Miller was his name, but they called him Miller.
That's what I thought.
He
yeah.
lived in Wick.
Uh-huh.
And then there was J.C. Sutherland, I didn't know her because she took languages, and Topsy Beck.
Topsy Beck?
Yes.
Uh-huh.
She lived in Northcote Street.
Oh, I see, you're right.
Uh-huh.
Uh-huh. And that in those days now, we were talking about around about 1930, they did, what was the exams at the end of the high school? It wasn't higher then, was it?
No,
Was it?
we had, you see, I was in a 3-year course.
3 years, yes.
Course,
Uh-huh.
because I had typing and shorthand. And we had 3 exams in a year.
Yes.
And then at the end of we got what they called a certificate, or day school higher certificate,
Uh-huh.
in the 3rd year, and they got the lower one in the 2nd year, yes.
Uh-huh.
It wasn't too bad.
Right.
Mhm.
So, did you leave the high school then when you were 15 or 16?
Yes.
And what did you do then? After you left the high school, where did you work first?
Well, I went to Skerries College for a year.
Oh yes, yeah.
And then my first job was with Alexander Bruce, as I was telling you.
Yes.
You know, and then after that I went to Georgians, DW
Yes.
Georgians.
Uh-huh. And you worked there for the rest of
No,
your...
I worked there for about 3 years, and then I went to work for the council.
Oh yes, yes.
Mhm.
Aye. Uh-huh.
Georgians, they didn't have a pension scheme, because there weren't so much about pensions in those days, you know.
No.
So I knew that I would be superannuated if I went to the council.
I suppose the council and the civil service might have been the only places that did have
That was
pension
the only
schemes,
places,
maybe,
yes,
at
at
that time.
that time.
Yes, right. Hey, I'd love to revert to your primary school days now. This is something that's always interested me, is the games that the bairns used to play. You used to make up...
Yes, we used to play a lot of games in the playground. You
Yes.
know, we never went home at 1 o'clock. Most of us were too far away from the school.
Yeah.
So we'd have a cocoa or whatever we were having, and then Mr. Brown, Arthur Brown, was the headmaster.
This was in
Thrumster, yes.
Yeah.
And he was a very practical person, and he would come out, if it was skipping time, he would come out and have skipping with us and get the rope
Oh, I see.
round and all this sort of thing.
Uh-huh.
And what else did he do? He was a very practical person, and he would tell us, he would ask you, well, what would you make with meal that you didn't eat? And this was paste to paper. He was great at going into things like that.
Yes.
That's his son, Lawrence.
He was my teacher.
He was Lawrence. Was
Lawrence
he?
Brown was my teacher.
Uh-huh.
I didn't
Lawrence.
know his fella, so I didn't know his fella. So, at that time, I mean, Mr. Brown was the headmaster.
Uh-huh.
Was there more than one teacher
Yes,
in the
there was
school?
a Miss Wood who was in the other
Uh-huh.
department that you went to first.
Yeah, she took the little...
There are one. She had 3 classes, and he had 4, I think.
Yeah.
Yes.
Uh-huh.
Mr. Brown.
So, how many pupils would be in the school at that time?
About 30.
About 30 in
Yes.
Trumster.
Uh-huh.
Yes, there were more people living in the countryside then than there are now.
No,
You get that impression,
yes,
don't you?
you do. Because usually when a croft fell vacant, and it's happened in a lot of areas, the people in the next croft would take it, and then they used the land, but the house went ruinous.
Yes.
And I feel that's how there's so much ruined houses in the county today,
Yes. Yes.
especially in Fresick and Auchengar.
Yes. It's just the houses have been left and allowed to
Because
become
it was
dilapidated.
29 when we went to Auchengar, and we were there to 1962, well, you could say 30 years.
Yes.
Well, in that time, when I'd be waiting for the bus, I would be counting how many houses were occupied when we came in 1929, and now they were sort of more semi-ruinous,
Yes.
and it was over 30
Is that right?
at Auchengar and Nightster.
Yes. Yes, I suppose so.
Uh-huh.
Because, I mean, Auchengar School must have had quite a few pupils too.
At one time, when I was there would only be about around 20 maybe.
So that was a fairly... One teacher only?
One teacher, Miss Nicholson, yes.
Yes. Right.
Uh-huh.
Okay. Now, did you, when you were at the primary school, did you have, when you were doing your skipping and so on, did you have rhymes and songs?
Yes.
Can you remember any of them?
Wait, I think. We used to do, they would all sit round in a circle, and then one person would get up and run round, and they would say, I sent a letter to my love, and on the way I lost it. And some of you have picked it up and put it in your pocket. And then she would say, not you, but you. And then she would run, and then that person had to catch her.
Oh, I see.
Uh-huh.
And did you have things in Caithness dialect at all? Songs, any songs or poems like
Not
that?
really, no. You need to get Nancy Nicholson for that.
Or nonsense rhymes?
Uh-huh.
There was Een Peen. My mother used to have one, but that's going back to done it now. That's going back like another generation. You know. They had counting rhymes and so on. So all right.
Yes. You see, there was different dialect in Thrumster besides what there was in Auchengar.
Oh, can you tell us about that?
Yes. Well, when I wasn't long in Auchengar when I was going to the shop, and this lady in the next croft came out, and she says, are you going to the shop? And I says, yes. And she says, would you take home a loaf to me? I says, oh, certainly. And she says, I'll give you a parton for your tea when you come back. And I was thinking all the way off and all the way back, what on earth's a parton? Never heard of it. And then when she gave me a crab, I says, what's a crab?
That's interesting, because yes, I know.
We always said a crab, but they say
Yes.
I never knew it was called a parton, you see.
That's quite interesting, yes, because I know it in Keith, when I was growing up, we always spoke about crabs, but
Crabs,
in
yes.
other places they did say parton.
Partons, but I had known that, you see, and I was wondering what on earth was this, you know.
Yes. When you arrived in Auchengar, how old were you again when you moved to Auchengar?
11.
Oh, I see. Did they treat you as a stranger, as a foreigner?
No, not really, no. Because the girl in the next house came and she says, after we went there on the Friday, I think, and she says, you'll be coming to school today? I says, yes. So I went with her and that was fine.
Oh, that was it?
Yes, it was nice.
Did you move to another, was it a croft?
Another croft,
Croft
yes.
in Auchengar.
Mhm.
And was it bigger than the one you had
Yes, it
before?
was bigger than the one we had in Trumster.
Sumster.
Yes,
Uh-huh.
we had 3 cows there and 2 horses.
All right.
Uh-huh.
Can you remember when you first got a tractor?
Well, we never had a tractor.
You've never had a tractor?
Because my uncle, we gave it up about 1960, you see.
Right.
And that's just when things were changing over.
Yes.
So my uncle thought he would manage with the horses, you know.
And he worked with horses all his days?
all his days, yes.
Uh-huh. What did you have? Was it 2 Clydesdales you had?
Yes.
Right. That must have been interesting.
Mm-hmm.
You liked the horses?
I liked the horses. And of course, as I say, they were all pets. You know.
Yes. Yeah.
They would all come to the door to get a piece.
Right. Aye. You've been painting a picture of a sort of gentle way of life, you know, a very quiet
Well, it
sort of
was
way
a
of
very
life.
quiet way of life. And everybody helped each other. This is another thing. If a man in the district was ill and he didn't get his ploughing done, everybody went and ploughed a day for him.
Yes.
And then when it came to sewing, he was up to date like the rest of them. But there isn't that same element now. There's not, if they're getting their own thing done, they're not so interested whether you get yours done or not.
Right.
Things changed very quickly, I thought.
What, after the war, do you think?
Yes, after the war. It was more or less, I'm all right, you just have to weather it out for yourself.
You're right.
Because I find that more so in the town now. Because when I first remember the town, everybody would help everybody else. I remember a man who's a councillor, and he was an engine driver, and he told me that his mother made up a pot of soup every day, and then when they came in at dinner time, they all got theirs. And then he says the pan went out the back window to a family that lived there that had nothing. So that I thought was wonderful.
Yes.
Because that woman was looking after her own family and another family.
Yes. Yes. You think a lot of that going on at that time?
There was, yes.
Yes.
And everybody there was this helping each other. But it's not the same now.
I mean, you remember Wick in the 1930s, do you?
Yes.
And that was a time when sort of unemployment was high and so on, and I believe there was a soup kitchen in Wick, was there, for the bearings of unemployed people?
Yes, they had that.
And you remember that, do you?
I just remember hearing about it.
Oh, aye.
Because you see, when I was in those days, I didn't really live in Wick till I started to work.
So when was that? When did you move to Wick to live in Wick?
I think now 1930. See, 34 or 5.
1934 or 5.
Yes. But I did think then, when I started to work, I did think that everything was going for everybody, you know. Things were on the up and up.
Oh, yeah.
That was before the war.
Yes.
And of course, maybe it was just because I was getting a bit older and seeing things differently.
Yeah, that's possible. Yeah. So where did you stay when you first lived in Wick?
In Harbour Terrace, you know where the Harbour office is? Well, there's a lane steps going up there, and I lived there with my aunt. And her husband went to the sea.
All right, I see. So you had a grandstand view of the activity at the harbour?
Yes, it was lovely. Every time you went, because it was a nuisance if you were supposed to be working, because you'd go to the harbour, look at the window and see something, and then you go back a few minutes after that and something different was there.
Yes. There must have been a large crowd of people at the harbour going and coming all the time.
Going and coming, it was very busy. Even with the sea net, it was very busy. And there was great activity. And now, when I look at it, it's dead. It's dead,
yes. Does that make you feel, how does that make you feel?
It makes me feel sad.
Yes.
Because I don't know how it changed so quickly, really, you know.
When the time we were talking about in the late 1930s, the women, the lassies were still gutting the herring.
Yes. And they would be waiting for the boats to come in, maybe. And of course they were dressed. And they were walking around the harbour having a blather, and they were all knitting as they walked.
All right.
Socks or some small thing.
Yes.
But they were always active.
Were many of them from the West Coast?
Oh,
Were they
yes,
Gaelic
a lot from the
speaking?
West Coast. And I used to go there quite a bit because I had an aunt there. And I used to speak to the girls that were coming back and forth to Wick. And she said, oh, we did love coming to Wick. She says,
Yes.
it was just a holiday. And then they met up with the folk that they'd met the previous year. And
Of course,
it was
yes.
great, she says.
It's interesting that she should say it was like a holiday, because it must have been hard work. At
It
the same
was
time.
hard work, but they didn't look on it like that.
Uh-huh.
They were quite happy meeting the people.
Yes.
And it was a change away from their island.
So, yes. And have you any memory of what they would be earning?
No, that's something I meant to look up, and I can't
Uh-huh.
remember. But they didn't get 1p. They got paid by the barrel,
Yes.
and that was called arls.
Yes.
So I don't really, that's something I never knew. I was going to look in Ian Sutherland's book to see if he had anything, but I can't remember. I can't remember him having it then.
I've got some books at home about herring fishing. Aye.
You see, they didn't, it was the fish curer that they were going to work
Yes,
for.
they were
that
contracted to the
He
curer.
had to, I think he found the place for them to stay.
Yes, yes. They would stay in digs up in Poultney Town.
Yes, they did. And down at the harbour, you know where these big lorries go in, they have the place there now. And up above that... Stevens, yes. Up above that, there was places at the lofts.
Oh, yes.
And when that was rigged out for a lot of them to sleep in.
Stayed there, yes, yes. So that must have been, Wick must have been a hive of activity.
It was a hive of activity.
In August, that would be in August.
In August.
Or July,
and
August.
the whole summer, you know, it was busy.
Yeah.
And then when our boats went to Yarmouth for the winter fishing, it reminded me of the children of Israel going to the Promised Land. There were 5 special trains would leave Wick that day, and they all had what they called their kests, and they had their oilskins and boots and everything in that. And the fish curer would arrange that so many would go on the train with their kists, and other kists would be taken by the boats that were going to Yarmouth, you see. And that used to be a great time. They would leave maybe in an afternoon, and they were all sounding, because when we were in Frobster, you see, we were just on the rock edge, and we saw them all passing. The sea was black with boats leaving Wick.
That must be a tremendous
marvellous.
sight.
It was a tremendous sight.
Yeah.
And I'll tell you another tremendous sight. In the autumn, the Navy used to come up to Invergordon for their autumn manoeuvres.
Yes.
And several of them came up to Wick Bay, and they'd have a searchlight display. You know, it was marvellous.
Yes.
Because I used to watch for this, and it was great. You know, it was really better than what the gala, the gala queen, when they finished, they had a display of what?
Fireworks?
Fireworks, yes.
All right.
But I always thought that, because they went round and round and round with this.
Yes.
It was beautiful.
All right. I didn't know about that.
And I'll tell you about another thing that happened. You see, there was 3, if not 4 bonfires in Wick to welcome in the new year.
All right.
There'll be one in Coach Road, and one at the riverside, and the main one was on Shilling Hill. So I used to watch for the bonfire being lit, and I remember shouting to my mother, I said, the bonfire's lit tonight. And she says, oh, you can't. The bonfire's lit tonight. Oh, she says, this is the night before, it's tomorrow night. But somebody had lit the bonfire the night before. I must say too long.
Is it that one? You're fired. Tape done. Must be because the tape's coming down. You can edit this bit out.
Yeah, that's no problem. It must only be a 30-minute tape. That's.
Oh yeah, it's 30 minutes each side. We've been speaking for half an hour. We used
Oh,
up.
yeah.
Are you sure it's? Does it do?
I thought about it in a
2 sides?
60-minute.
But does it do 2
Okay,
sides?
well, we'll stop for a minute.
Yeah.
Actually, I think
Yeah.
we're getting on fine. Anyway,
Yes.
you enjoying yourself?
That is it.
Yes. I was telling you about the bonfire. It
Hang
was-
on, don't tell us about the fun part just yet.
Hold on.
We were talking about the bonfires in Wick at the New Year,
Yes.
and you said there were 3 or 4.
Yes, well, there was one at the top of Coach Road and one at Riverside in Wick, and I think there was another one at the end of Willow Bank, and the main one on Shelling Hill.
Yes.
And this year, I think it was in 1925-26 that this happened. And somebody lit it the previous night, not the night before Hogmanay.
Yes.
And I was always watching for this fires. And I said to my mother, I says, the bonfire's lit. Oh, rubbish, she says. It's tomorrow night, I told you. But when she went out, she realised it was the bonfire. And then the cry was next morning in Wick, they burnt the bonfire.
Oh,
You see, it tickled me pink. And then after they got over the initial shock, they knew that the only thing they could do was get going and gather more stuff. So they got a bigger bonfire, they got more stuff than they had in the first place.
They didn't have long to get it together,
No,
though.
just the morning, you see, just starting in the morning, and it had to be ready before 12 o'clock. So how they managed it, and it was a huge success.
Right.
But there was nothing said about it, because you see, to be a rival group, especially somebody maybe from the Wick side, you see that.
Oh, you think this was it?
They had to watch the bonfire. Once they got the pile built up, they had to watch it because a rival group would come and do all sorts of things, steal from it, you see.
Oh, yes.
Especially that. When they did the second bonfire that year, they got a lot of barrels with tar in them, and it made a great blaze.
Oh, so there was rivalry between the different bonfire groups.
Yes.
All right. Presumably, they would go around collecting stuff for a while before.
Oh, yes, it'd be maybe 2 weeks before it in normal circumstances, but they did it in one day when the need required it, you see.
Very good. And did the people at midnight then, when the Hogmanay
Yes, they used to light it about maybe 11:30 to burn the old year out and the new year in.
And did all the people meet in the street then to wish each other a Happy New Year?
Well, not
and
so much that. They made their way to whatever bonfire they were going to.
Oh,
you
right.
see, if they went to the Shelling Hill, there'd be a crowd there. I've seen crowds there. And of course, they would have a little glass about that size. And a
Inch
bottle,
high.
and you would get, and they would be giving their friends a wee nip, to wish them a Happy New Year. And whiskey was 12 and 6 at that point.
Right.
No money.
But was that quite a lot of money in those days?
That was a lot of money for drink. Of course, it was all tax.
Yes.
Probably 2 and 6 would be the cross, but plus the tax, it made it 12 and 6.
The 12 and 6 in relation to what a man or a woman was wages?
Yes, well, £5 would be the sort of average wage at the time I'm speaking about. Yes.
Yeah. And were there dances and things like that at New Year?
Yes, they used to have one in the Rifle Hall. Yes. And I tell you a thing that the fishermen always had for the Bignell Hospital. See, the hospital was kept up by public subscription.
Yes.
And they would have maybe over 100 tables in West in the Rifle Hall.
Oh, yes.
And then the proceeds went to Bignell Hospital. And then somebody else would have something for the Fever Hospital, and that's the way it went.
The Fever Hospital was out South Road, is that right?
Yes, that's right.
Became
and
the
Town and County then.
Yes. Yeah. All right. So there seems to have been a busy place with a active sort of
It was
community
a
life?
very active community life, and they didn't howl to get things. They seemed to raise the money for it. I mean, fancy when you see what the NHS needs now to run the hospital,
Yes.
and it was done more or less as a voluntary thing.
Yes.
Mhm.
Yes.
Yes.
Right.
That's great.
I think we'd better call a halt there because the Crystal will be arriving any minute. Will someone stop there, Donald? Will that be okay? Thank you very much.
Okay then.
See, that was good. You had some good stuff there.